Breaking right now, captured. A suspect now in custody after a gunman on a roof opens fire on a 4th of July parade in Highland Park. Chaos. Families forced to run for safety.
Try to cover her against my body so that if she got shot, I would get shot first.
Leaving strollers, chairs, even shoes behind. At least 6 people are dead, dozens of others wounded. Tonight, team coverage on the victims and the heroes who helped the survivors.
Good evening, I'm Erica Sargent.
And I'm Joe Donlin. It has been almost exactly 12 hours now since gunfire shattered a 4th of July celebration in Highland Park. What a day it has been, and we have team coverage tonight. The investigation, how it happened, how the suspect was captured.
The victims, resources for those who need it. And we begin with CBS 2's Dana Kozlov. Dana.
Erica and Joe, 12 hours later, 12 hours after the shooting in downtown Highland Park, and this is the scene right now. We are standing at First and Central, but about a block away, that is the actual scene of the shooting that happened this morning.
8 hours after this all unfolded, that suspected shooter was brought into custody, arrested here in Lake Forest, just a few miles away from the parade route. Tonight, new video of police arresting the man they believe opened fire during the 4th of July parade.
There's the Honda.
Frank Piketty recorded the video.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. He's here, they caught him. I seen the Honda and I knew that that was the shooter. And that's when I pulled my camera out of my pocket and started videotaping what was going on.
Now it's 6, a day of grieving and remembering the victims of the deadly parade shooting.
He was saying, "Mommy, Daddy."
70 rounds fired from a rooftop during a 4th of July celebration.
I woke up many times last night saying, was this real? Did this really happen?
Tonight, the CBS 2 investigators piecing together the accused gunman's movements before and after the shooting.
Good evening, I'm Erica Sargent.
And I'm Joe Donlin. Over the course of this broadcast, you are going to learn more about the victims. You'll also hear from some of their families, as well as members of the community left shaken by yesterday's events.
We'll also take a deep dive into the accused gunman, where he got the weapons and his elaborate plan apparently hatched weeks before the shooting. Catherine Goldstein, Nicholas Toledo, Jackie Sunheim, and Arena and Kevin McCarthy. 5 of the 7 victims killed in Monday's 4th of July parade tragedy. 38 others were hurt, including an 8-year-old boy in critical condition. More than 32 hours later, chairs, blankets, American flags still lined the streets there, left behind by parade goers scrambling to escape the gunfire.
We have a team of reporters in Highland Park working to bring you all of the stories, and we'll start with CBS 2's Dana Kozlov. Dana, just moments ago, the state's attorney announced charges against the accused gunman, and you have the details.
He did. He made that announcement about 45 minutes ago.
This new surveillance picture of the accused gunman was taken moments after the shooting. Police say he was heading to his mother's house. CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini has been tracking down more information about his family, and Dave joins us now.
Joe and Erica, police are looking for any clues they could find, and they have to protect potential evidence. We also found they're honing in on one location and a mailbox, too.
Anything Bobby Crimo ever posted on social media, correspondence through the mail, or other messages and writings are all under the microscope, including the homes where he and his closest family lived. The suspect's mother is seen here in a confrontation with police on the 1500 block of McDaniels Avenue in Highland Park. The video shows a SWAT team standing on that street as she shouts and gestures, appearing very angry. A home on this street is linked to his family. Bobby Crimo's mother, Denise Pacina, also has a mailbox and business listed at another address. This address, the UPS store about 3 blocks away from the mass shooting scene. Is that mailbox the subject of a police investigation? The CBS 2 investigators found the entire UPS store has been locked and closed by police order. No one can enter or access their mailboxes. It's the only store with such a sign in this small strip mall. The mailbox we found coming back to his mother is partially blocked by a cardboard box. No word yet on why police have ordered this UPS store closed.
Why that police mailbox and why that police order to close that location, we're still waiting for an answer.
The Central Avenue Synagogue is just a couple of blocks away from the shooting scene, and leaders here with the synagogue say just a couple months ago that suspected shooter walked in wearing all black leather and gloves. Also, he had a bag, and that got the attention of the security team here at the synagogue.
The thought did cross my mind, well, maybe he's just casing the place.
Do you think that's why he was there?
Yeah, now I do. Now that I know that, he's, has homicidal tendencies, for sure.
Marty Blumenthal does security for the synagogue and says as soon as he saw the suspected shooter's picture on TV, he knew it was the same person inside the synagogue just a couple months before. Several staff members at the temple started a conversation with him back in April when he was inside the temple, checked his bag for weapons, which he didn't have, and after about 45 minutes, he got up and left. Now, police weren't called because he didn't do anything illegal, but the visit did concern the congregation. What was your concern?
My concern is that he was going to, pull some kind of a weapon out.
And leaders here at the synagogue say as soon as they saw that suspected shooter's picture on TV, they immediately contacted Highland Park Police to report that incident from April. Reporting in Highland Park, Charlie DeMar, CBS 2 News.
We want to go back to this photo for just a second and the heartbreaking story that's touching people nationwide. The couple, both victims of the parade rampage, left behind their little boy. CBS 2's Jackie Kostek spoke with the couple who cared for him in the middle of all of the chaos. Jackie?
Yeah, Joe, I spoke to the brother of one of those victims, and he said the family is just not ready to speak publicly. After the shooting, we shared photos of that little boy who'd been separated from his parents. Well, now we understand why he had been separated, because both of his parents were tragically killed. That little boy, Aiden, ended up in the care of another Highland Park family for several hours before being reunited with his grandparents.
It was almost as though a light switch flipped and everyone just started running for cover.
For Dana and Gregory Ring, an idyllic start to the 4th of July turned quickly. When the shots rang out, the couple grabbed their children and rushed to the staircase behind Walker Brothers to get to the parking garage below. That's where they were met with a stranger, a woman holding a small boy.
She was
shaking.
She was in shock. I mean, she was
physically shaking her whole body, which told us that wasn't, she shouldn't be having to hold and or deal with a little one at the same time.
So Greg took the young boy, covered in someone else's blood, into his arms.
I went back up, which in hindsight was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, because he was saying mommy, daddy, so I went back up to look for his mom and dad, and then I saw the scene. Carnage.
The family didn't know where to bring the boy, so they started with the fire department.
I'll never forget, the cop said, I said, this is not our boy, and he said, I'm not a babysitter right now. Can you take him? We're like, of course.
The family went back to Dana's parents' home nearby.
Dana's dad
My dad kicked into poppy mode and immediately swooped him up and brought him in the back. They were watching Mickey Mouse together for probably an hour and a half, which was the sweetest thing. And he was happy. He was
fine.
He was fine.
He was playing with our smallest daughter.
About 3 hours after the Ring family took the little boy in, a Highland Park detective picked him up and helped reunite him with his grandparents at the hospital. By the end of the day, lucky had new meaning.
Dana and I were laying in bed last night, and the 3 kids, we made them all shower, and they all got in bed, and there were crazy storms here last night in Highland Park. I mean, it was just thundering all night.
Loud thunder and lightning.
And I just said to Dana, we are the absolute luckiest people on the planet.
The power of social media helped reunite that boy with his grandparents, and now, about 7 hours since that GoFundMe was posted, it has raised more than $1.6 million.
Wow.
Joe?
It's such a chilling story. Jackie, thank you very much.
For the first time today, we learned about the past contact police had with the shooting suspect. Threats of violence, knives recovered.
Tonight, CBS 2 investigator Megan Hickey continues our team coverage asking how he was able to get those guns legally.
Tonight, state police are defending how the suspect was able to get a FOID card just 4 months after Highland Park police were called to his home after he threatened to kill his family with his collection of knives and swords. We've learned Bobby Crimo passed 4 different background checks between June of 2020 and September of 2021. The only thing that came up was a 2016 violation for possessing tobacco. His history is being called into question because police records show that in September of 2019, a family member called police after Crimo said he was going to kill everyone. When police responded, they removed 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from the home. The report was forwarded to Illinois State Police, but Crimo wasn't arrested and no one was willing to sign a complaint. State police said family didn't tell law enforcement about any mental health concerns. No firearm restraining order was filed, and no one asked for an order of protection.
It's important to note Highland Park Police, when they responded to that 2019 incident, they removed the weapons that Crimo possessed.
Police took the weapons, but the Lake County State's attorney says the process stopped there.
We must vastly increase awareness and education about this red flag law called the Illinois Firearm Restraining Order.
He's talking about a tool here in Illinois for loved ones of gun-owning family members showing violent tendencies to have those weapons temporarily removed. But state police say that because the family didn't raise those concerns when then 19-year-old Crimo went to apply for a FOID card just a few months later, there was insufficient evidence to deny him. Not only did the family not raise those concerns, his dad sponsored his application, a requirement for applicants under the age of 21. As we now know, Crimo would go on to legally buy 2 high-powered rifles similar to an AR-15, in addition to several pistols that were later recovered at his home. So, could the suspect's dad face charges in the shooting?
I am absolutely not going to get into that level of detail on the investigation in our process.
Again, before today, the only offense on his criminal history was a violation for possession of tobacco. We were able to confirm today that the suspect did spend his freshman year at Highland Park High School, but left in August of 2016. A spokesperson would not comment on the circumstances of his departure. In Highland Park, Megan Hickey, CBS 2 Investigators.
So far, investigators have not released much information about a motive.
But detectives are looking into what they call the accused gunman's affinity for the number 47.
His motivation isn't necessarily clear. I don't want to go specifically into what he told investigators. However, he had some type of affinity towards the number 4 and 7, and inverse was 7-4. It apparently comes from music that he's interested in.
He was interested enough to include the number on a car in one of his own music videos and even had it tattooed on his face.
Now we are digging into some of the unanswered questions here, mainly how this happened. State and local police say it would have been up to the suspect's family to go the extra steps to make sure that he was not able to legally buy a weapon.
CBS 2 investigator Megan Hickey has been looking deeper into the debate, and Megan, experts tell you that's not entirely true.
Right, and it all centers around this 2019 call to police where the family says he threatened to kill them with his collection of knives and swords. While the family declined to sign a complaint, experts are telling us that law enforcement may have been able to take this into their own hands.
Primarily family members and other individuals can go to a court and ask that somebody have their firearms taken and not be allowed to purchase firearms. To be very clear, that did not happen in Mr. Crimo's case.
State and local police have repeatedly said they did everything they could in September of 2019 when a family member called police after Bobby Crimo said he was going to kill everyone. Police removed 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from the home. The report was forwarded to the Illinois State Police, but he wasn't arrested and no one was willing to sign a complaint. Then he successfully applied for a FOID card 3 months later. State police said it was on the family to tell law enforcement about any mental health concerns, file for a firearms restraining order, or an order of protection.
You don't have to have a gun to be subject to a red flag law.
But Allison Anderman, senior counsel and director of local policy for Gifford's Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, tells us Illinois' red flag law would have still allowed police to petition a court to keep the shooter from obtaining guns in the future.
There was at least enough evidence for law enforcement to consider petitioning for an order and possibly going before a court to get this order.
And that's something they could have done independent of the family, you're saying?
Yes. Now, it might have been more complicated if the family was unwilling to provide testimony and evidence. However, all I've been hearing is that the family was unwilling to press criminal charges. This is not a criminal order.
Anderman says the suspect's previous suicide attempt could also have provided additional support for a court order. We reached out to Highland Park Police about whether that action was ever considered and if they were aware of the law. We're still waiting for a response. Anderman doesn't see this as a loophole in Illinois, arguing there's already a law in place to address a situation like this one.
It wasn't utilized. So what I think needs to happen is there needs to be an investigation of why it wasn't utilized when it pretty clearly should have been.
Now, ISP's director just had a press conference and speaking on behalf of state police only said that they did not find probable cause that there was clear and present danger in that 2019 incident. He said they're going to be releasing a redacted version of that clear and present danger report. So we will, of course, be looking for that and we will be reviewing that closely. Live in Highland Park, Megan Hickey, CBS 2 Investigators.
Megan, thank you. New here at 5, new video shows panicked people in Highland Park running into a business as shots were being fired into the crowd outside.
CBS 2 Sabrina Franza is live in Highland Park. And Sabrina, you spoke to the business owner who shared that video.
Joe, Erica, as the days go on, we're learning more and more of the acts of heroism that happened here on July 4th. Small businesses whose actions that day were anything but small.
I feel like I was just well placed at a really awful time.
A stream of strollers, panicked parents, shots fired just next door. Matt Phillips had his doors open.
Images kind of start coming back and you start remembering just sort of what you saw.
Linford Winery just opened this tasting room a month ago, just next to the parade route. They were serving on Monday morning.
It's an opportunity for us to engage with members of the community.
Welcoming Highland Park in for mimosas.
It was right about that time when we heard the gunshots, followed by what seemed like just an endless stream of strollers and parents and other parade goers just running through the store.
Never expecting to serve as a safe haven.
Basement, storage area, the office.
Hiding about 40 people, kids and adults, caught on camera running inside.
We locked the door and just kind of waited and sat there in disbelief for a while.
Now 2 days later, that same community is coming in for a glass of wine
to get over here
to say thank you.
I appreciate it. That's the part that's overwhelming. Because all I wanted to do was just get people in here and keep them safe.
For comfort, for conversation, for community.
There's some life after this that you know, we can look forward.
This winery reopened its doors just today, but just a remarkable example about how even though today they're trying to give this community a sense of normalcy, in reality, they gave Highland Park so much more. We're live in Highland Park. Sabrina Franza, CBS 2 News.
The couple tells me they knew right away that their cameras had captured that suspect. They own a building just over here on Green Bay Road, just steps from where investigators say that shooter fired 83 rounds into that 4th of July parade.
The rifle dropped out of his blanket. He turned around to look where it was, and when he turned around, I think he looked up, and there's the camera.
Jerry Emelfarb never imagined her family's event space on Green Bay Road would play such a crucial role in this investigation. She was in the 4th of July parade that day. Waiting for her on the route was her husband, Hal.
All of a sudden, pop, and then you realize you're now involved in an active shooting.
We saw hordes of people running toward us, screaming, "Shooter, shooter, shooter, run, run, run."
Hal, a former chairman of downtown Highland Park, went to check the surveillance cameras on his building. Did you know what you had when you saw it?
Yes, I mean, we knew basically it was a kind of a strange-looking person, okay, that obviously had it, so we guessed that was him.
Do you remember seeing that image for the first time?
Yeah, it was spooky.
Hal tells me that according to the full surveillance video, which they've been asked to keep private to protect the integrity of the investigation, the shooter entered the alley at 10:07 a.m. Police say the shooting took place at 10:14. This snapshot was captured at 10:14:57.
The police, they saw his face, they knew who he was.
The person in the video was wearing headphones and women's clothing. The video shows him dropping a red blanket behind the building. Police say that wrapped inside was the high-powered rifle.
Give me a hug, baby.
The Emilfarbs tell me they're grateful for the quick-thinking investigators who put it all together, and grateful that their cameras were functioning.
I didn't see this, Cal. Did you see
Yeah, I
this?
didn't see this either.
Now, Highland Park Strong is written in chalk on the side of their building.
I'm a daughter of survivors, Holocaust survivors, and my mother's still alive. And I say to myself, you know what? People will rebuild.
Now we know the FBI took possession of that full surveillance video today. As you can see out here, Central Avenue still an active crime scene 5 days into this investigation. And the Emilfarbs wanted to stress that they have been so grateful for the law enforcement who have been out here working around the clock.
The CBS 2 investigators continue to dig into the guns purchased by the suspect.
Our Dorothy Tucker joins us live from the newsroom with what she's learning. Dorothy.
Well, we now know exactly when those assault rifles were purchased. Authorities tell us once the suspect got his FOID card, it didn't take him long to get his weapons. The FOID card, giving the suspect in the mass shooting the legal right to buy guns, came in January of 2020. Sources tell the CBS 2 investigators it was just 1 month later, in February, he purchased the assault rifle used to take innocent lives during the 4th of July parade. On June 9th, he bought a second assault rifle. Investigators found one of them in the back of the suspect's car when he was captured. July 18th, he bought a gun. July 31st, he bought another one. September 20th, 2021 was his last purchase. It was his birthday. A total of 5 weapons. Judging by his disturbing music videos and social media, investigators know the suspect has an affinity for guns. And he didn't just frequent local gun stores. He made the purchases at 2 stores. Investigators are now focusing their attention on those locations. Now, at this point, investigators are not releasing the addresses of the stores where the guns were bought. They point out they were legal purchases.
Dorothy, thanks.
Highland Park is family. It's home.
It's community here.
It's where people come together.
Everybody pretty much knows everybody. Highland Park is a strong community.
It's a place of fun.
Everybody's welcome. We're unstoppable.
But I feel Highland Park strong.
We are live in Highland Park, just steps away from City Hall and just a few blocks from the parade route. I'm Erica Sargent.
And I'm Joe Donlin. We are not at the scene of the shooting, and that is intentional. We did not want to focus on what happened a week ago. We wanted to focus on the city and the people of Highland Park. We're joining you a little bit later than we planned because of a strong thunderstorm that Albert's been telling you about that just passed overhead. But we are glad to be with you here from Highland Park to share some great stories of how this community has come together, but how other cities around Highland Park have come together to help too.
Yeah, the support isn't just coming from here, but all around the world. A Highland Park father, a Little League baseball coach, he saw that firsthand. Now, when he took his team to play against another team in Wilmette, it was the first time they were back on the baseball field.
And we're about to start the actual game. We're the visiting team, so we're at bat first, and the other team goes into the field. And I look across the field, and I see that on the fence over by the other team's bench, there's this poster. I'm looking at it. It's got blue and white hearts, and that's the color of Highland Park, and it's got orange ribbons. And it says that they're standing strong with Highland Park, standing strong with HP. And then I realized every kid out there had an orange ribbon on their hat. So I turned to the kids and I'm like, hey, you guys, do you see that sign over there? And they start looking and they're like, is that for us? And then I said, you guys, do you see that they're all wearing orange ribbons? And they said, do you think that's for us? And I started to see it dawning on these kids that what happened in Highland Park means so much to people even outside of Highland Park, that all of our neighbors cared about us so much. That was special. Both of the teams came together at home plate for a photo together with the poster, and it was full of smiles, and we went and had pizza, and it felt a little normal again, and that helped a lot. So we were all real grateful to Wilmette.
We're talking about what would-be competitors coming together in a way you've never seen before?
I'd never lived it like that before. It's exactly what baseball. It's exactly what baseball is supposed to be.
I want to thank that father, sir, sitting down with me. So emotional, but telling so much about the hope and healing here.
You know, that was obvious to me today as we were around town that people wanted to talk about it. They wanted to share their feelings, and you didn't want to be invasive, but on 2 different occasions, people walked up and I just said, "How are you doing?" And they spent the next 5 or 10 minutes explaining to me what they'd been through, and I think for them it felt almost cathartic.
Yes. Well, Lasker also mentioned, by the way, that he's now teaching his kids that while there are bad people in the world, there are also so many more beautiful people like the ones who supported them in Wilmette.
What a great story.
Gun violence in Chicago.
It can happen anywhere at any time.
For some neighborhoods, it's a constant presence, leaving a lasting imprint of trauma.
When you hear gunfire in a community, what do?
Highland Park grabbed worldwide attention for one day of terror. But in some Chicago communities, violence is the daily reality.
This is a public health crisis.
Tonight, we're searching for solutions to address the gun crisis in Chicago.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us. I'm Joe Donlin.
And I'm Erica Sargent. Welcome to our special Searching for Solutions, addressing gun violence in Chicago. We wanted to have this conversation in the wake of the Highland Park tragedy on the 4th of July.
That's because just an hour or so away on Chicago's south and west sides, there were a number of tragedies that holiday weekend. We know 7 people were killed in the Highland Park shooting, but 8 people were shot and killed in Chicago, another 68 injured on that same weekend. Stunning numbers that are a constant in the city, often overlooked and leaving a lot of people traumatized in the aftermath.
For many, it's been hard to understand why the response and outpouring of support to Highland Park isn't the same response to every mass shooting in Chicago.
Tonight, we look at the hardworking community first responders throughout the city who are fighting for change every day.
Our backdrop is a beacon of hope in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood.
Well, the issue of gun violence in Chicago is one we cover extensively here at CBS 2.
So please visit our website, cbschicago.com. You'll find tabs for our community journalism reporting, past mini documentaries, and the work of our CBS 2 investigators.
And if you want to support the great things going on here in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood, here's a start for you. The 79th Street Renaissance Festival. That happens on September 10th. Yeah, it's a day the whole community unites to show off what they're proud of, and they're about to have a brand new building and a whole lot more to be proud of.
It will be a good time. We want to say thank you for joining us. I'm Erica Sargent.
And I'm Joe Donlin. We'll see you back for the CBS 2 News tonight at 10 o'clock.